Hi, thank you for being here. My name is Crystal Olivarria, and I'm the CEO and founder of Career Conversationalist. And parents hire me to help their child transition successfully from school to the workforce. And today we're here to continue on with our mini series as far as finance your kids' college education with $27. And today our topic is going to be the secret to finding more scholarships in less time. And what this is it's about having a system structured so that it takes less time to get more work done. And why is this important? It has to do with the more time something takes, the less likely your kid is willing to be committed to the system. And this is just natural. We're all very busy and we have things to do, and it's easier to stay committed to something that takes less time and gets you more results. And the major bullet point that I want to cover is it takes time to learn multiple strategies. And I want to share a little bit about myself and my story and give you a really good example of this. Is when I was first getting started, well, first I'll tell you that I did raise over $70,000 from grants and scholarships to help pay for my own college education. And when I first got started, I did a lot of offline searching as well as online searching. The internet back when I was in high school isn't what it is today. And so there was very much a very different standard of doing business. Some people would call it more old school. And so one of the things that my mom did is she purchased a list of scholarships for me to apply to. Pages long, and I believe it had probably about 300 scholarships. So I went through the piece of paper and started figuring out which ones it looked like I might qualify for. Again, it was on paper, so it wasn't like I could click on a link and get more information to read about it. It was all paper. So in order to get more information, I decided to write back to those organizations to say, I found out about your scholarship. Can you please send me some information? And that strategy took a really long time because out of 300 scholarships, I figured, did it make sense? Like I had to first figure out, well, how many should I reply to? Like the more I replied, the more likely I thought there was a chance of me winning, the more responses I would get back, the more I could apply to. And so I figured at the time, since postage, it was just going to take postage and my time, that I could afford it because I had the time. I was in high school. And what I did is I created one basic document that said, I found your scholarship through this source. I think I might be qualified. Can you please send me some more information? And then I had the basic letter, and I figured I'd just change the address and address who it was addressed to, and therefore it wouldn't take me a lot of time. I was going through technology class, so we were very much learning about how to use things efficiently as far as the computer, set it up so it had the letter on one side and the matching envelope on the other side. And it was very this whole like be professional and have a letter that's typed and have the matching envelope that's typed, no handwritten envelope. And so I was very much like proud of myself for streamlining and using what I was learning in school to try and to do this in real life to get money for college. And that strategy just took a long time because you would have paper jams, you had to figure out which way to print the envelope because sometimes the envelope would print upside down, and just there was a lot of trial and error, and it just took a lot of time, and the results were pretty disappointing. I remember complaining to a professor because I was like, I sent out, out of 300 scholarships, I sent out 100 letters and I got 3 responses, and 2 of the responses were like, this opportunity is no longer available, and the 3rd response was like, I'm sorry, you don't qualify. And I was just like, really? I spent all that time, energy, and effort. Easy for me just to give up and like walk away and be like, this whole scholarship thing isn't worth it. So that's why I say that was one strategy. So it takes time to learn multiple strategies because I figured that strategy didn't work very well. What else is out there? And that's why I focused on doing things online. I focused on other offline things, and it was just really a really big learning curve for me. I'm not sure that I would have stayed committed, except that at that time I knew that my mom was going to have a hard time affording college, and this was pretty much my only option. So I really had to figure things out. So the other thing I want to share is that there are different strategies require different ongoing time commitments. And this is something that I learned, especially with the difference between the online and the offline world. Like for me, the offline world, it's really easy to keep track of what I did because it's usually in an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and I can clearly see on paper, like, yes, I did this, I checked this off, no problem. Okay, we're good. I know what I did. So it was really easy from a time commitment standpoint for me to do things offline. But when it comes to online and you just get to scroll and scroll and scroll, it's like, okay, I spent a lot of time on this. And then I had a hard time keeping track of what did I did, where do I need to leave off, where do I need to come back, and trying to calculate how much time I needed was hard. Or you can figure, okay, well, if I average it, it takes me, so many minutes. It takes me 5 minutes to go per page to go through all these scholarships, no problem. But online, it's hard to estimate that because you don't know how long you're scrolling. And at that time, it was just like you would scroll rather than have multiple pages. And now it's like, okay, well, I have multiple pages. How many pages do I want to go through? Or does this make sense? And people tend to end up like getting overwhelmed and then they quit. So in terms of like trying to gauge how much time it takes to complete each strategy is a challenge because it's like, okay, well, you don't know that website or how is it set up, or you might calculate it and then dive in and then realize that it's not really worth your time because maybe it's not, the resources aren't the very best. So when you do figure out a strategy, sometimes it can be challenging to stay committed if you don't know what your time commitment is. And if you know what your time commitment is, then it's easier to plan it, put it on your calendar, and be consistent and do it consistently. So that brings me up to the next point, which is why not focus on the best strategy to get the best results? And this is really what I want to focus on because a lot of times kids don't they don't have the ambition to continue going to figure out what is the best strategy. A lot of times they try something, it doesn't work, they want to move on, and they're not really sure if it was that the strategy didn't work, if it was them not working the strategy properly, if maybe they didn't have the resources they needed. Learning curve. So it's really easy for them to give up quickly, especially when they live in an age where they're used to instant gratification. So I found that if you focus on what are the best strategies, you often get the best results because it's easier for people to stay consistent and it just kind of builds that upward momentum and people just continue to stay engaged and go upward. And so what I really want to say and point out is what would your life look like if your kid knew what the best strategies were in life for getting what they wanted? What would your life look like if instead of having to push and nag your kid to take action, your kid took action and was like, oh, okay, this is pretty good. Like, I wonder what else my mom or dad has to suggest because I'm getting results and I like this. What would your family look like? What would your relationship with your child look like if your child started getting results immediately because they felt good about themselves and they wanted to stay committed? And that's why I have a special invitation to you because I do want your life to look that way. And the invitation is, whoop, sorry, I got my cards out of order. It is for the Scholarship Challenge, which is $27. And so just to tell you a little bit about this challenge and what it is I designed it because a busy parent said, I'm concerned about college and affording it for my son, and he's really busy. He's a great kid. He's playing sports and he's taking all these AP classes and he just doesn't have that much time for a career coaching program. But I still want him to start thinking and getting headed in that direction. So I thought scholarships would be a good place. Can you create a challenge where it's 10 minutes a day, him looking through scholarships? And so at the end of 30 days, he has this transformation of a list of scholarships to apply to. I thought this is a great idea. A lot of families could use this. And I created the challenge. And it's also designed so that you, as a parent, can also, in 5 minutes a day or less, learn about the financial aid process, what to expect. This way you don't have anxiety about it. You know what you can do to pre-plan it in advance, as well as learn things that you can do to help your family qualify for more financial aid. This is important because for me and my family, when I first got started, we qualified, or I should say we didn't qualify because we made too much money. And so my mom was smart and talked to her CPA to figure out some things that she could do. And by readjusting some things, I was able to qualify for money, more money. And so that's really important, is to start having this conversation so that you can start pre-planning and thinking in advance. I like to refer it to similar to retirement. You don't start planning retirement a year or two before you retire. The sooner you start planning out, the more options that you have, and the more likely you're going to have a happy retirement. And the same thing's true with college and being able to afford it. And so that's why I created this challenge. It's currently $27 because I really want your feedback as far as what you think about it, what questions you have, any observations about maybe what I can do to make it better, to enhance it, and this way that people going forward in the future will be paying full price for it. So again, this is a great opportunity for your child, especially if your child's busy and they just don't have a lot of time in their schedule. This is definitely designed for you in mind with your busy schedule. So go to the scholarshipchallenge.com to go ahead and enroll. And yes, there is a bonus. The time of this recording, I'm offering an opportunity for you to get to ask your questions to two amazing people. One is Dan Everett from College Money Pro, and the other is Daniel Hertzberg from Accelerated Educational Solutions. And the reason I'm doing this is because I figured that while going through the challenge, you might have some questions about how it pertains to your individual family, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to go ahead and ask those questions. So what I'm thinking is that there'll probably be a webinar where you can submit your questions in advance. And this will help me go through and see which questions come up the most often and the most frequently, and then perhaps turn that into a frequently asked questions page or resource to help families going forward in the future, and then to reward you to give you an opportunity to ask questions about your individual family. In order to take advantage of this bonus, you do need to do it before the deadline, which is November 21st, 2017 at 11:59 Pacific Standard Time. So again, I'd encourage you to go ahead and sign up for the challenge at thescholarshipchallenge.com. So thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to our paths crossing again soon.